And a very good morning, everybody. We apologize for being a little bit late, but welcome into another edition of the Pattison Ave Sports Show. I'm your host, James Scores, and with you, with me as always, is my group of companions on a very busy Saturday morning. We got the birds coming up later on today, but Joey Morris, how are you, my friend?
Good morning, James. Good morning, Philadelphia. And welcome in our good
Okay.
friend. Haven't had him on for a while. I'm looking forward to talking with him. Our good friend, Joe Sullivan from Old School Sports. Joe, good morning.
Good
Hey,
morning, sir.
good morning, guys. Thanks for having me, man. I always like hopping on and chopping it up with you guys. So, thanks for having me.
No problem.
Always, likewise.
Before we get down into it, I have an announcement to make for everybody watching. So, as many people might be aware that both our subscribers and followers, and if you're not, hit that like and subscribe button on Hardcore Sports Network and Stream Punk Entertainment PA YouTube channel, and follow us on all social media platforms: Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of it. Um, the announcement has to do with if most of you have seen me and James all around, we are doing a plethora of projects, Philly fame legends being the latest. We are continuing to film those and put those out there. We are also still doing the Fly Like an Eagle with Mishkovsky and This Week in Phillies Baseball. Well, coming up in the fall, we are going to have more content with the Flyers weekly show. And for the better part of about a year and a half to 2 years, I have been building my own online business. Some of you have seen the ads that we've played on this show for the shopping plaza on eBay. Well, that's one of the stores that I have. I've kind of taken that shopping plaza, which is my brand, and created and developed my own website. We're hoping to launch within the next 3 weeks. It's going to have everything. Basically, it's personalized and customized products for any occasion, from sporting events, any kind of sporting event you could think of, to any kind of holiday, to any kind of event or occasion you could think of. We bring the personalization and customization back to the customer. We give the power back to you, not overwhelm you with thousands of results and tell you what to buy. We tell you that we show you the way to design unique products for what you want. So we are bringing the customer experience and putting it back in the customer's hands. Uh, Basically. So I have been scaling that up. Me and James have been busy with other projects. With Pattison Ave Sports Show, we're going to kind of scale back a little bit, not on a hiatus. We are going to go from every once a week to once every other week, so 2 times a month. We hope that scaling back the show doesn't mean scaling back the quality.
Hmm.
We honestly hope to do the opposite. We hope to create better, bigger, and better shows for all of you for those 2 times a month. We want to be able to design different experiences for this show so that it becomes more interactive and more entertaining to all of you watching.
Mhm.
So stay tuned for all the other details on our social media platforms, especially following me on Facebook for any announcements that I might put out on my feed. Um, I'm looking forward to what the next chapters have for both me and James, and for Hardcore Sports Network, and for the Pattison Ave Sports Show, because there are big things still on the horizon. But with that being said, let's get down into sports, and let's get down into Philly sports. And we're going to start with the Philadelphia Phillies. And guys, I didn't have this on my show prep sheet, but it's the headline from last night. The proverbial Johan Duran
Hmm.
gets carted off
Hmm.
last night in the game against the Nationals. No reports yet of what is really going on. A ball that lined back at him, hit him in the ankle or foot. I think that they were just trying to be precautionary. But we'll start with you, Joe Sullivan. First reactions, and now that you've had a couple hours to digest it, what are your feelings moving forward?
First reaction was, oh no, the guy that we got to shut down the ninth inning is going to be gone. But positive news, I'm pretty sure I saw on X like late last night. I think the X-rays were negative. So hopefully it's just a really bad bruise, and maybe he's just out for maybe like a week or so. You know what I mean? Like hopefully they escaped the disaster.
Yeah. And James, same question to you. What was your first reaction when you saw it? And since having had a couple hours to digest things, what has been your reaction since?
Well, I mean, when it first came out, it was more like when the Phillies had to win last night. I was thinking, yeah, they won the game, but at what cost? At the same time, too. It was more like, it was kind of like a cause for concern, but now having a little bit of a few hours now to digest it now. Hopefully we have some good news today on the positive front, that it's just a little bit of a bone bruise, and hopefully it's just that he'll be healed back and be back to pitching in a couple of days or so. But more importantly than anything like that, I mean, he was walking around in the locker room last night. So if it was like something serious, it would have been probably the season would have probably been over if something was like that serious. Because the other thing too is that I found I think it's a little bit of a sigh of relief too, is that if that's the only thing that it is, and he just needs to put like a pack of ice on it, or just something to just like heal the wound a little bit. I mean, at least he's walking around, and like at least he was walking around in the locker room last night, kind of like what Landry Dickerson had during the week at the open practice, but we all know it's just a minor meniscus tear. So that's the only thing too I would say about it too. But more than anything, I mean, at first there was like a cause for concern, but hopefully we get more positive news out of it today, especially in this third game between Washington and the Phillies today. The Phillies and Washington.
I'm with you, Joe Sullivan, in the sense that when it first happened, I'm like, oh no. Did we just pull Edwin Diaz? Like, did we just lose our guy that we are really depending on right now? Because I look at like what this bullpen was before Duran got here, and I look at it like after Duran got here, and I like it's like night and day. It's not even close. And so for me, when when he was Tom McCarthy brought this up, it was 6 minutes since they were evaluating him, and no one knew why there was a holdup. And we later found out it was because they were trying to get the cart out there. When he was walking around, there was a conversation, even for a short stint, like, would he stay in the game? And I'm like, okay, if this guy stays in the game, he's already going to be, recognized in such a high regard in Philadelphia Phillies lore that this guy took like a liner back on his ankle and was like, nah, I'm good. and just
it's only flush room.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, like, all right, dude, we got this guy who's this tough. I'm like, all right, that's Philly tough through and through. But when he got carted off, I was like, please just be precautionary. I think, Dr. Bukai and John Roush, the head athletic trainer for the Phillies, I think they were just like, you are too damn valuable. We are getting the cart. You are not walking off this field. Like, we are treating you with kid gloves at this point. So I'm with you, Joe. I'm glad that the X-rays were negative. We are just going to have to see how this goes. But, I'm glad it happened now, I guess. If he's got to be off his feet for a week or so, I can live with that in August. I don't know if I can live with that at the end of September, a month from today. So I can be grateful for that, because it still gives a month for him to get right. And the other perspective is with Alvarado coming back, maybe we have a little bit of a supplemental tool in our bullpen if Duran has to stay out for, a week or two. What do you think about that perspective, Joe?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's, I mean, not that there's ever a good time to have an injury, but if it is only a week and a half or two, at least you do have Alvarado to come back. And the other thing is too, you don't have to worry about resting Alvarado for the playoffs because he can't pitch in the playoffs. So I mean, if I'm the manager, his ass is out there pretty much every day. Almost.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because hey, yeah, you did it to yourself, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
I'm using all his bullets now, and this. I know the Mets are playing horrible, and we have a nice little lead in the division, but I want that 2 seed. I want no part of playing that wild card round. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to play a best of 3. So I think it's important to try to get the 2 seed.
So that leads me to my next question. So a couple of weeks ago, prior to the trade deadline, there was a lot of opinions, especially on this network, especially on this show, when it comes to the Phillies and what the expectations were for them in this season. My feelings have always been they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to make a deep run.
Right.
Other people have thought they may not make the playoffs. Other people might have thought that and still think that they may be a one and done. This is where I'm kind of going to go, and this is why I'm kind of tapping into what you're saying, Joe, is now it may not be just about winning the division, because I think that might be, I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion, but if we keep trending in the way that we're trending and the Mets are trending in the way that they are trending, it could be a foregone conclusion. So then at that point, you're looking at seating positioning, just like Joe brought up. So that being said, has your opinion changed since before the trade deadline to now about what this Phillies team is really capable of doing, especially and more importantly, as you brought up, Joe, if they are able to take the rest of the 40 some odd games that they have left in the season and position themselves in a better way to be more successful in the playoffs? Has your opinion changed from a month ago to now?
Slightly, and that's only because of the closer. Now the closer was a huge acquisition. I'll give you that. But look at this lineup. I mean, they won. The lineup just literally goes cold all at the same time. And I'll tell you a scenario I'm really afraid of. If the Mets keep going in the tank, and Cincinnati happens to sneak in, if we're the 3 seed and the Reds are I want no parts of Cincinnati in a 3-game series because we have a hard time with their pitching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially with the way Wheeler is, I mean, Wheeler with the tired arm, I mean, Wheeler's only giving you 5 innings, and now and you look at Ranger's got a dead arm. So, our advantage has been the starting pitching. Well, the Reds have good starting pitching too. And if I'm only getting 5 innings out of Wheeler, that really concerns me. That's why so for the expectations, I got to be real with you guys. I see like a one and done. That if I'm honest with you, this outfield sucks. It's the worst outfield in baseball. I mean, I'm seeing a one and done.
James, I'll ask you the same question.
Well, it's an interesting question, Joe, because I thought about it during the week, and we had this week at Phillies baseball show on Monday, and I felt confident that this team was going to be coming in hot-handed. They're getting hot at the right time, and I even told you I thought they played really good baseball. But after that Red series
happened, and then
after that Red series, it kind of shook my head a little bit, and especially that game against Washington on Thursday night. I mean, yeah, they had that lead, but just the bullpen got in the way, and also just Luzardo was in there too long again. And I mean, like you said, Joe, I'm sorry. I mean, the thing that concerns me the most is the hitting. I mean, the batting is just, once they go cold, they go like ice cold. I mean, like, you're absolutely right. And I think the other thing too is that I brought it up last night. I brought it up last night on some. I didn't. I guess I tried to figure out like what would be who's gonna be the horse that's gonna. I mean, who's gonna be the player that's gonna need to step up here in these next handful of weeks. And I said it's Bryson Stott. I mean, I'm gonna say right now, Bryson Stott is on the hot seat as of right now because I mean, I thought for sure that he would make a real big jump into his game this year. And I heard a lot of people say they were out on him before the All-Star break. I mean, look, his defense is fantastic. I thought he does a very good job on his defensive front. But on offensively, he's just horrible at the plate. And it's not just him. It's Castellanos that's struggling. It's Trey Turner that's struggling. The only guy that's giving you a chance, if that, it's Kyle Schwarber. That's it. I mean, overall, I mean, like right now, what this Phillies team has in store, I mean, yeah, I mean, you have like good player, you have like JT coming around a little bit too, but overall, I mean, if they don't make the post, I mean, I would hope they make the postseason, but after that Red Series, it's kind of concerning to me to see that this Phillies team is starting to go down a rabbit hole a little bit.
So here's been my opinion this kind of whole year long. I look at things from the perspective that it in baseball, much like hockey, James, that we always talk about this. It's not always about the most talented team that gets to the championship. Whether it's the Stanley Cup Finals or it's the World Series, it's not always the best team. It's the hottest team. It's the team that can all kind of get hot together and kind of take that and ride that wave. And we saw it in 2022. Would I have said that the 2022 Phillies were the best team in the playoffs? No. But
Right.
they rode that wave so much that once they got to the World Series with the Astros, and Frank Finnegan brought it up, that series is that we are going to get outclassed because the Astros are a better team.
Mm-hmm.
The only way we can win this World Series is if for somehow, some way, we can still become hotter than the Astros. And that just wasn't to be. I mean, we saw little peaks and waves of it in certain games, but like it wasn't sustainable at that, from that point. So from my point of view from the very beginning, this roster, this starting pitching, the bullpen, and Sully brings up a great point with the outfield. I expected more out of Castellanos. He's really under-delivered. Marsh is kind of striding forward. Bader has kind of cooled off. There's a lot of question marks. Max Kepler is, Jekyll and Hyde. Like, I don't have anybody I can really depend on out there. And, we had talked about it earlier in the season of like, okay, how do you make that outfield better? How do you make that outfield more sustainable? Do you move Trey Turner to the center field and bring up a young infielder like an Aiden Miller, or even as we saw a couple weeks ago, Otto Kemp? Like, these guys maybe need to shine through the next generation. But that being said, just the idea of, okay, yeah, we have Zach Wheeler, we have Christopher Sanchez, we have Luzardo, we have Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, all these guys, all these talented guys that, in my opinion, if they all stride hot at the same time, there's no team that can stop this team.
Right.
There's no, this team could be a bulldozer if they stride hot at the same time. And that is difficult to do for any team. But we've all seen moments, stretches of this season, series in this season, where this team has been that bulldozer. In the Tigers series, in the Dodgers series, in the Padres series. There are moments in this season where this team has proven that when they are that strong and formidable of a team, it's hard for me to say that it's just a given that they are a one and done.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to say that. I still feel like this is a World Series contending team.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if we can get on that burner with some of these guys, we can collect that magic like we did in 22.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to that's not, I'm not going to say that that's where we are now. We're not there now.
Right.
I'm not naive to believe that. But you got the possible potential MVP on your team and a potential Cy Young winner on your team. That's not nothing.
Mitch checks in and says something like basically what he always says is like the Phillies are gonna be one and done. So I'm thinking like, so I mean, if in case you haven't noticed, Sully, I mean, Mitch and Joey have a little bit of a bet going on that I don't know if it's still going on that they.
No, it's not. Both people have balked on the
they both bailed
Yeah.
or they both what do you call it caved
backed out.
So,
yeah,
backed out. So yeah, yeah. But to your point though, Joe, I think the other thing that I find distracting with this team is that like once the team starts to struggle, every team like I mean you would have thought okay after one player struggles like he's gonna come out of it before you know it. I mean Castellanos ever since he got here. In the postseason, let alone in that World Series run in 2022, he was not the guy that was this. I mean, he like got ice cold again. I mean, he's kind of like he's going through that same similar slump now as he did. But to your point, though, I mean, the thing that I find disturbing at the same time, and I find I don't know what team is going to show up every once in a while, but if they go down this road. I might be in the same category as Mitch is right now because I don't think this Phillies team, if they get cold, I mean the only way the Phillies get to the postseason and the way they get to the World Series and even win it is going to be with Kyle Schwarber. I mean, I don't think it's going to be Harper doing that. I don't think Trey Turner's going to be doing that. I know for sure Bryson Stott or Castellanos ain't going to do that either. So if Schwarber has to lead the way, I mean. That's the only thing that's going to take them to the World Series is that it's going to be under Kyle Schwarber that's going to take them there, or maybe Christopher Sanchez, like you mentioned with that starting rotation.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question real quick?
Sure.
Like you said, if it's not Schwarber and Harper's not hot, who the hell's getting a big hit in a big spot in this team? Like who?
That's a good question.
Who do you have confidence in? See that's what I'm struggling with. Like I look at this Phillies team, and like you guys are saying, like. Yes, if everything's going well, they can make a run. Mm-hmm. But like I hate to say it, I have no confidence that they'd be able to do it through the wild card round, through the division series, through the championship series, and through the World Series. Even in 2022, like Joe brought up, the Phillies got on that hot streak. Yes, Houston was a better. I mean, I think we all can agree on paper, Houston was a better team than the Phillies that year.
Sure,
But the Phillies had a 2-1 lead, kicked their ass in Game 3. What happens the next night? They got freaking no hit.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you lose 3 in a row. Like the track record of this team, 3 consecutive years, it's been the same old story, same old song and dance. And like, to be honest, I lay the blame at Dombrowski. To be honest with you,
I'm with you.
GM, but 3 consecutive years, you've looked at this outfield. And it's never been good enough. And it's like, they pay Castellanos all this money. Really, you think about it, in 4 years, Castellanos has probably had a couple good months. If you really look at it, that's it.
True.
Yeah. And like that's what James brought up is like, the idea that we could sit there and say, okay, Castellanos has had good moments, has had good, stretches, but like in the totality of it, it's not been a good stint with the Phillies. I mean, Kyle Schwarber has definitely outperformed his contract, which is one of the reasons why so many people are like chomping at the bit for Dombrowski to re-sign him. Dombrowski was actually interviewed earlier in the week discussing why those contracts have not moved on. Mainly because he doesn't want to distract the players and put some seed of contention in the clubhouse. you pay this guy, but you're not paying this guy.
Right.
And
That's
I
true.
I understand that. I think that's a little petty if some people are feeling like that. Like, if you are not a teammate of Kyle Schwarber and do not think up to this point that that man does not earn a contract over someone like JT Realmuto or someone like Ranger Suarez, you're sadly mistaken.
Well, let
A-
me
a-
ask you this, Joe. Since you brought up JT Realmuto, they did a montage with him a couple of days ago about this. Um, I understand he's coming up on being a free agent in the offseason. Do you, by any chance, re-sign him even though he's coming up on 34? Or if
So
he,
it's interesting. I had a question on my show prep sheet last week or the week before,
mm-hmm,
and we never got to it. And I'll bring it up to you guys now. So
sure.
on the trade deadline, the last I would say 3 years during the trade deadline, the Phillies in the last 3 years have traded away their top catching prospect within the last 3 years. Oh, Hoppy, and then the guy that they just got rid of this past trade deadline. My question is, you're depleting your catchers farms in the farm system. You don't have that guy who's the heir apparent, because I don't feel like Marchant is the heir apparent, and
No.
I
No.
definitely don't think Stubbs is the heir apparent. So I don't know who you're bringing up or who you're putting in when JT walks. So when the question that I had in the show prep was, do you believe that the Phillies and Dabrowski trading away that catching prospect this past trade deadline was a sign that Dabrowski is thinking about re-signing JT Realmuto in the offseason? Joe, I'll have you answer that question first.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's to be honest with you, I think it's a foregone conclusion. I don't think there's any way. I mean, um, I think I was listening to 97. I think Jason Stark was on one day, and he was saying even when this was when Realmuto was struggling. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Realmuto's actually really come on since, but he was saying there are certain teams in baseball, even with his advanced age, that would be chomping at the bit to go sign JT Realmuto. So I think the Phillies. I think the Phillies know, like JT, I don't think wants to go anywhere. I think he comes back on like a 2-year deal. I think JT comes back 2 years. And I'm worried about Schwarber too, but I think when we look at this offseason, I think JT and Kyle come back and Ranger's probably the odd man out. But I think JT definitely is back. No doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think JT and Kyle come back, and I think there's another departure outside of just Ranger Suarez, and I do agree that this is part of it. I think not Nick Castellanos will be on the trade block. I honestly think that, much like you're saying, Sully, earlier about the outfield, it's not hidden. Like, it's not like we're not going to put complete blinders on and start thinking, okay, this team, this outfield is good enough. It's not. There's nothing stable about this outfield whatsoever anymore.
No, no,
And
it's not.
so for someone like Dabrowski, if that's the case, then Castellanos will have 1 year left in this coming off season. So he'll be on he'll be entering 2026 with his last year on his contract. So I feel like when the winter meetings come around, he'll be a high topic issue for moving him, even if it's to get prospects. At this point, you're just trying to move the body, move the contract, and try and free up that slot for whoever comes next, whether it's a Kyle Tucker, whether it's a JT Crawford or whatever it may be. That's going to be a big question leading into the offseason. But I want to go back a little bit to a question that you brought up, Sully, about the fact that this kind of lies on Dave Dombrowski. Okay, a
Hmm.
lot of people, including Mitch Kofsky, and a lot of people around the Philadelphia region have discussed, and I feel like there's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde with the sports media too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, James, we had This Week in Phillies baseball on Monday, and I
Yeah,
felt
we
like
did.
we were all high on Rob Thompson after the Rangers series.
Oh yeah.
He was making all the right moves, and then Cincinnati happens, and we think he's a loser, and we think he's the worst manager in Major League Baseball. And I get it; it's Philadelphia. We flip flop our takes as much as we change our underwear. But so, Sully, I'm going to ask you the question because you brought up about Dabrowski. How much responsibility or culpability do you put on Rob Thompson for some of the struggles that this team has had this season?
So, honestly, I don't put a ton on Rob Thompson because what's the saying? Like sometimes you can't shine a turd, right? Like if like, I mean, I hate to be like that blunt, but like
you're right.
Let's be honest. You're putting a guy like Kepler out there. He's hitting like he's hitting like 180 something over the last like 3 months. You know, Castellanos hitting like 186 in the last month and a half. Like I've always had some issues with Rob Thompson's moves. I mean, even in the World Series year, like he would make some moves, and I'd be like, oh, I don't really know. But the players bailed him out. You know, guess what? Except for Game 6 when he took Wheeler out, I'm still pissed about that one. So I say this as not the biggest Rob Thompson fan, but again, you saddled him with the worst outfielder in baseball. I mean, like Brandon, I'll give Marsh credit. Other than April, Marsh has actually been a good player, but the rest of that outfield sucks. And you brought up Crawford. Like, what the hell does he have to do to get called up? I don't understand. Like, we're watching mediocrity and horrible outfield play each and every night, and we got a guy hitting 330 in AAA. Like, what does he have to do?
You know, that's a really good question, and I think there has to be, I guess, you know, we're going to talk about the Eagles later on, and we talk about culture and philosophy and like what the organization, how they run their organization. And I think the Phillies organization has always been a little bit hesitant with their good prospects. We've talked about in the past about the 08 run and that core, the triplets with Rollins, Utley, and Howard. Those triplets would have been together a lot sooner if management would have saw a way to get Jim Thome off the team and free up that slot, or figure out a way to free up that slot for Ryan Howard. Mm-hmm. And they just never did. And they just never pushed the right buttons in order to do that. And who knows, that may have stymied the World Series run for that era. And who knows? But like, that is another. I've seen certain teams bring up these players, and I'm not just talking about like the bottom feeders of like the Nationals and whatnot, but look at what the Marlins are doing.
Right.
Marlins have like no named players really, and they're bringing up prospects and saying, "Okay, kid, see what you can do." Like, and for a short stretch of time in the last month or so, they've actually been making waves, and I just don't understand it. Like, you could bring a guy like Crawford up who's got the pedigree. His father was an outstanding outfielder. Mm-hmm. And you have that pedigree. This isn't like bringing a kid like, Otto Kemp, who doesn't have that pedigree, or a Scott Kingery up and who doesn't have that pedigree, and hoping for the best. This is a guy that has proven it in AAA and has the pedigree to go along with it. And I think that they're just organizationally, their philosophy is, we are going to wait till we think he's good and ready. Well, are you wasting a year of his career? Are you wasting more than that? Because some people would argue that Ryan Howard wasted 2 extra years of his career down in the minors. Yeah. And so
that's true.
That is something to think about when it comes down to this team, who is conceivably aging out. in before our very eyes. So we have to look at these people like an Aiden Miller and a Justin Crawford, guys like that. Um, so
There
what?
were.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No.
I was going to say, just to piggyback off your point, the two of their World Series runs were sparked by bringing up young guys. Like the 1980 team brought up guys like Marty Bystrom and Bob Walk, and they helped down the
Right.
stretch. And then in '93, they needed a shortstop. They brought Kevin Stocker up.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
sometimes bringing a young guy up gives not only does it help because they're a good player, but it gives the team a little bit of a jolt, like a little bit of an energy jolt.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I'll go one step further with that with the '08 team. Like some of it was kind of like the reverse effect. You had some of these guys like a Matt Stairs who were a veteran who kind of got their career revitalized because they were around this youthful talent. And
Right.
you had and if it wasn't, we all can be straight with this. If it wasn't for Matt Stairs, we wouldn't have gotten to the World Series in '08. Like
Right.
that's just a foregone conclusion at this point. But with the Phillies, I agree. They have to maybe change their philosophy moving forward in order to, maybe give this manager a better opportunity. I've brought this up before. If you give a good chef, if you give a 5-star chef really shitty ingredients and expect them to make you a 5-star meal, you're out of your mind.
Right.
Like miracles can happen, but that's just asking a bit much. Now, that being said, Rob Thompson, I guess, is trying to make the best of the situation. And the game plan, even if in the short term, is to move to a 6-man rotation starting next week. My question to you guys, even if it's like 2 or 3 times around, Sully, I'll ask you first. Is this a good idea?
I think it's a necessity, to be honest with you, because Wheeler's arm looks tired, and Rangers running on fumes, and so yeah, I think it's a necessity. The only thing that I worry about is Wheeler seems to be a creature of habit. So are we going to mess him up by not having him go every 5 days? But you know what, though, maybe you got to protect him from himself. You know what I mean? And then, so maybe. Because if you do that, in essence, it's almost like you're having some of these guys skip a start in a sense. You know what I mean? Pushing them back multiple times, an extra day here and there. So maybe that could help these guys get strong.
Yeah.
I've still, before I shoot that question to you, James, I still have this like lingering question I would love to ask like a professional pitcher or even just like a pitcher that played in college or whatever, but like a starting pitcher. I want to ask like this dead arm because I've never played baseball. This dead arm, it just I've heard conflicting reports. Like I've heard he needs more rest, or he just needs to. And then I've heard on the other side he needs to push through it. And it's like, okay, then which is it? Like
Right.
I want what's best for this starting pitcher. Whether it's Wheeler or it's Ranger. Like I want what's best. So if it's pushing them through, great. Okay, do that. Like I just want someone to tell me, hey, this is what pitchers that have dealt with dead arms, this is what the bulk of pitchers that have dealt with that have done to get through it. Okay, then do that. Like we're at a point in the season where we can't fool around anymore.
Right.
Like we got to get we got to figure out what exactly we can do to get these people right because just like with the Philadelphia Eagles, and we're going to get to them in a minute, how that offensive line is like the core of this offense. We can talk about A.J. Brown, Devontae, Saquon, and Jalen, but if that offensive line isn't what they are, then that offense doesn't move. I feel the same way about this starting pitching rotation. If this starting pitching rotation struggles, then I think everyone else on the team struggles as well.
Yeah.
And, that's where I worry. I feel like we get this. That's why I felt so confident in the beginning of the year with the starting rotation. James, what do you think about the idea of moving to a 6-man rotation, even if it's 2 times around?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that it's interesting because you think about the situation, you think about what's going on with Zach Wheeler right now, and I think the other thing that sticks out to me the most is that if they go to a 6-man rotation, it's like, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't know how I mean, you got other pitchers coming up tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow Aaron Nola comes back after missing a long time since he was on the 60-day DL. Suarez has not looked himself. Wheeler hasn't looked himself since the All-Star break, and that's probably because of arm fatigue and all that, and X, Y, and Z. Luzardo, it's hit and miss with Luzardo. Like, I mean, for me, if that's going to be the case, is like, I mean, I would hope this is not for the postseason because I don't think that'll be possible in the postseason to have a 6-man rotation if there ever was one.
No.
But yeah, it's interesting because it's like, I mean, you have so many pitchers starting. You have so many pitchers in the starting rotation. It's hard to believe that you can't put like one of them in the bullpen to make it 5. I mean, I'm not going to say you can't put Wheeler in the bullpen. I mean, that'll be a little bit. That'll be like asinine. Little asinine. You know what I'm saying? But Ranger could be a possibility if you can put him in the bullpen. That's a possibility.
Right. And that's been discussed, widely, especially when moving to the playoffs. The thing that I heard on 97.5 this past week that I did not know, Sully brought up about one and done and the wild card and positioning and all of that's relevant and all of that's going to be important down the stretch. But one of the things I found out was wild card or DS. The way that the DS is set up with the days off in between games, this is there's a possibility you could just run a 3-man rotation out there, starting pitcher wise, for both the wild card and the DS. The CS is really where you're going to have to move to that 4-man rotation and maybe carry less bats and more pitchers.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting because I feel like, the 6-man rotation could work for like a short stint. And it again, I kind of go back to whatever needs to work. I don't know enough about dead arm to because we can hear dead arm and fatigued arm, and the first knee-jerk reaction you have is, okay, then send them down, rest them.
Right.
But then that gets them out of their routine, and we go back to the Joel Embiid effect, and it's like, okay, do we have to ramp them back up again? Like, we can't afford to do that. It's
right.
So I want what's ever best to get these guys back to a part health-wise, because I feel like they all have the talent, they all have the stuff, but I need them good health-wise moving forward. I can't deal with these little, okay, he's got tightness in his shoulder or whatnot. I get it. It's a long season, but then you guys got to make the organization has to make a decision. Do we rest them and say, look, sit down. You've given us 180 some innings up to this point. Sit down.
Right.
Let's take this out of your hands and let's put you so that you're ready and fresh by the time we have to go into the playoffs. So two quick rapid fire questions I have for you guys. Number one, and I'll start with you, Joe. Number one, give me your starting outfielders. And I know this is going to make you smile and percolate. Give me your starting outfielders for your playoff for game 1 of the playoffs for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, I saw you had that question, and it's a tough answer because it kind of depends on who's pitching for the opposing team in a way, right? I mean,
right.
like Marsh is Marsh has played well enough that, and the rest of the guys, I'd almost feel like, in a way, I'd almost want to start him no matter who's playing. So I mean, if you're putting a gun to my head, if you're making me name three, then I'm going to say Marsh, Bader, and Castellanos, and I'm just going to hold my nose and hope that somehow he gets hot for a couple days. You know what I mean? But to be honest with you, I think they're just going to play the platoon game the whole way. But if you're making it three, they're the three I'm going to choose.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, James. Do you have a different set of outfielders? Because I have the same ones.
Yeah, as do I. I do. Yeah, so do I. Gonna admit.
I feel like we're on consensus with that because much like you're saying with Castellanos, we and on all three of them, we're just like, okay, everyone hold a deep breath because that's the way it feels. Like it was one thing in 2008 when we had Pat Burrow and I love Pat, but like Pat was not a consistent hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in 2008. But when you had guys like Jason Worth and Shane Victorino that could pick up what he was lacking, you almost kind of didn't worry about Pat. You were like, okay, Pat's the mascot basically of this team.
Right.
And that's fine. We could deal with that because there was people making up for his differential. Yeah. The other quick fire question I have, game one, whether it's wild card or DS. Joe, I'll start with you again. Who's your game one starting pitcher, Wheeler or Sanchez?
Oh, it's Wheeler. It's Wheeler based on track record. Yeah, it's Wheeler. And as much as I like Sanchez, I like the idea of Sanchez going against the other team's number two. I feel like Wheeler, you know what I mean? Wheeler has the track record. So if I got to go Wheeler against the other team's best, I like Wheeler to find a way, even if he's got a dead arm, just with guile and veteran experience, to find a way to get out of that game, only giving up 1 or 2 runs. And then I'll take Sanchez because then I feel like too, Sanchez is better than 99% of the other team's number two. So if I can find a way to take number one, then I really like my option of winning with Sanchez and going up 2-0. If it's just based on starting pitching.
Right. Sure. James, same question. Who would you have as your game one starter in the playoffs?
Yeah, it's an interesting question to think about because I mean, you think about how Sanchez has been all year long and he's been superb, and also dealing with Zach Wheeler's fatigue arm. I might be. I gotta say right now, I might go with Sanchez in game one. I think I might go with Sanchez, depending on the situation. But the way Sanchez has pitched, I mean, he looks like he could be a Cy Young candidate. So for me, that gives me a good advantage of. I mean, I don't know though, because like Wheeler, like if you take him away from his like start, like then that's when we get into trouble. And so for me, I would say right now Sanchez, depending on if Wheeler's arm is like still fatigued, but overall, I think it might be Wheeler either way, though. It might be Wheeler either way.
I'm with you guys. I think it'll be Wheeler. I think it'll be more towards what Sully was saying about he's got the experience, he's got the cachet, he's got the the mindset that he wants the ball game one. Like that's the guy. Right. He wants the ball the game one. And I think if you put Christopher Sanchez against any number two pitcher in any team in the major leagues, he outclasses that number two pitcher far and away. And I think, that's going to give this team confidence going on further into that series. We're going to move. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I just wanted to ask you because you have the wheels spinning in my head now thinking about this. I think a really interesting question is who's the starter for game 3? Because what if Nola comes back and he shows he's healthy, and Ranger continues to have a dead arm? Do you go Nola or Luzardo in 3?
Or
that's
even
a good question.
Or even if Ranger is already moved to the bullpen. If there's a perspective or if there's a reality within the wild card or the DS that they do move to a 3-man rotation, and you're not worried about that fourth man, so you have a choice between those three. It really it if I'm being honest, like I would go Nola just off of
Yeah.
resume alone.
Yeah.
Just off of resume alone. Because Ranger's been good out of the bullpen when he's done it before. Luzardo, I feel like, can give you 2 strong innings if you need to. And God, I bite my tongue, you know, get me some real mental help. But I'm saying Taiwan Walker might
Yeah.
make a freaking playoff roster. Like what in the hell?
Yeah,
The
right.
hell is going on here that Taiwan Walker crosses my mouth as even being thought of being a playoff roster pitcher?
Yeah.
But he's worked his way into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Give him
you're right.
kudos.
No, you're right.
I give him kudos. He's done his job, and that's all you can ask for him.
Well, let's wait until like how he pitches the next handful of starts just to see him, just to see what he's capable of,
Well, that's going to be the other. That's going to be the other determiner.
Yeah.
Does the wheels fall off?
Yeah. What's
I'm
that, Sully?
I was going to say, Joe, I'm with you because I could see a scenario where you have Nola start the game. He goes through the lineup, say, one time. Because how many times have you seen Aaron Nola through the years where he's like Cy Young the first time through the lineup, and the next thing you know, he gives up the long ball. So I could see Nola going through the lineup once, maybe giving you 3. But then that's not a bad scenario because if you only go 3-man rotation, then you have Luzardo and Ranger to back them up before you even get to the bullpen guys. So that could be a winning combination.
Yeah.
Right.
And like that's the thing. If you get someone like Aaron Nola that goes through the lineup, and then you could bring in a guy like Ranger, you go through the lineup again one more time, you're already into the 5th, 6th inning, depending on that circumstance. And now you have options with Strum, Luzardo, with Taiwan Walker, with Kirkering, with Robertson. You have a lot of different options you can work with if you're Rob Thompson. And you could play the matchup game for the next 3 or 4 innings. And, well, actually, 2 or 3 innings, because we all know Duran's going to be coming in for the 9th, closing the door, ringing the bell. So, like, my feeling is, I think that you could, because my feeling is I'm with you. Nola should not be the guy that is dependent on to go 6, 7 innings when he comes back. This is a guy that you have to work with within his strengths. You don't need to push his innings or any. Look, this guy, if he gives you 4 or 5 strong innings, I'll take it. But if you tell me he's only going to get through, we're only going to keep him in through 9 batters, fine. I'll take it.
Count me in. I'm good with that.
So we're going to move on to the Philadelphia Eagles. And later today, we are going to have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Cleveland Browns in a 1 o'clock preseason performance at Lincoln Financial Field. This week, the Browns and the Eagles had 2 joint practices, both on Tuesday.
And it was Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesday and Wednesday. And so, my first question to you guys is, what is the thing? And I'll start with you, Sully. What's the thing you're looking forward to the most seeing in this preseason game?
I want to see somebody be able to play the second cornerback position because I'm getting that from what I'm reading, getting very concerned because like Ringo Jackson and then even the kid from the Raiders that came over they were all getting cooked this week from what I was reading. So that could be a major issue. And then I'm kind of curious to see who, like the wide receivers, like they may keep 6 receivers. So I'm interested to see what's going on in the receiver game.
Oh, I have a question on the sheet down the road for that. That's an interesting topic about the receivers. That's something that I'm keeping a close eye on. James, same question. What is the thing you're most looking forward to seeing in this playoff game, in this preseason game? See, I'm already in playoff mode.
Yeah. Well, I want to see more of Jahad Campbell and Andrew McCooper today. I like to see both of them. You know how much I love my linebackers like you do, Joe. So, I mean, I like to see Campbell do try to finish what he started last week. Looking for that pick six, and also not a pick six, but a pick interception like the one that he dropped, obviously. So I'll be looking forward to seeing that today. McCooper, on the other hand, this is actually his first chance to see what he has in store in Eagles green. So I'll be curious to know what he does today. For me, I know McCooper is well, no, not McCooper. The secondary rather has had its fair share of obstacles during the week with Ringo and Jackson, and even like Joe Sullivan brought up with what's his name?
Jaquain Bennett.
Jaquain Bennett. Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's gonna be interesting to see who's gonna be that number 2 cornerback, and I mean right now if it's not those three, then maybe we should move somebody somebody in that secondary hole. Maybe we'll see what Mac McWilliams has in store, or see yeah, it's interesting because I wish that secondary would get their act together. But hopefully today, hopefully after Vic Fangio talked about it last week, hopefully they'll find a way to fix it.
Now I am going to go on 2 different fronts that are a little different. I'm going to go to edge. I want to see what a C. Ojalori and a Jobo, a couple of these guys that are the backups to Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith. I want to see what these guys really have. I need to be impressed today with them. I need to see like fury and anger. Like I need them to go after whomever that quarterback is for the Cleveland Browns. And I need to know that we can put in that rotation like we've been able to do in past years at the edge spot, and not just have that as a dead position. Because honestly, that's part of what made us successful for the last couple of years, is that not just the defensive tackle, but the edge. We were able to rotate guys in and out. If we rotate Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt out and we put guys in that are not good and are not effective, that's going to leave us at a deficit. And I think sometimes the pass rush helps the corners. It helps the secondary because you make that quarterback kind of jump off his spot and get off his spot enough where he can make errant throws. Now, the second position that I'm looking forward to seeing is we had an injury that you guys brought up earlier about Landon Dickerson. Now, we dodged a bullet in some ways with the meniscus tear, and it wasn't like a huge tear. It was a surgery. He got scoped. He was on the sidelines during practice drinking a couple Miller Lights. So I'm glad he's easing back into things. You know, the greatest number is having a couple beers. I guess I can understand that. I could commiserate with that. But one of the things with Landon, with the offensive line that I'm worried about is that guard position. Well, just the backups. There's not much known about the backups. We have Taupe is going to be the guy, and I'm not talking about just the color. That's literally what his name is. Do you have this guy taking over for Landon Dickerson for the rest of the preseason? My question really is, I don't know who these people are. I really want to know who these guys were. It was kind of like what happened with Mailata last year and Fred Johnson coming in. I'm like, who the hell is Fred Johnson? And then he was like, he did really well. I'm like, okay, I know who Fred Johnson is. All right, I got you. And like Opeta and like some of these guys that are and Sayamalu, like some of these guys that were unknowns that we later found out to be, familiar names. I need to know who these guys are, because if Dickerson, despite having the scope, that that could be a nagging injury. That could be a really nagging injury. And, John Ritchie brought up something earlier in the week, and it goes without saying. This is a 330-pound guy. It's not a light guy. He's not a small, little, tiny human. Guy's eating Uncrustables on the sidelines, pounding Miller Lights. He's not a light human being. That knee is going to take a little bit of damage with how much impact those offensive linemen go through on a daily. So I just need to know that there's some graduates or upcoming graduates of Statland University. And I hope to see that in this preseason game.
Yeah.
So to go back to the Dickerson injury, Sully, I'll ask you, when the reports first came out, much like the Duran thing, we all held our proverbial breath because we were like, okay, our offensive line is basically the nucleus of this team. Landon Dickerson is a big part of that. My question to you is, knowing what you know now, and so what I kind of brought up about it kind of being potentially a nagging injury, what is your concern level with the Landon Dickerson injury?
I'm always concerned because knee issues was what made him slide to the second round. And, we've been very fortunate that he's been able to gut through it. But, hey, each year he gets older and, and more wear and tear on the knee. So of course I'm concerned, but the one thing that's good is he is a tough guy and he seems to be able to gut through it. I mean, look at what he did last year in the championship game in the Super Bowl. I mean, he was a hurting pup, him and Juergens both. But I mean, he gutted through it and he did great. And then that would be a huge loss because I think I read somewhere where Saquon averages like 7 or 8 yards per carry, something like that, maybe even 9 when he runs behind Dickerson. So.
And the percentage of how often he ran behind Dickerson was in the high 80%, 90 percentile. Right. So he leans on Landon's side a lot more. And so Landon's kind of like his fullback. And so, that's a very important piece for Saquon in the run game to work.
Absolutely.
James, what did you think of the Landon Dickerson injury, and the potential for it to be a lingering injury potentially?
Well, I'll tell you a long story short. I had a family member that had similar meniscus surgery with this, and it was minor, and she actually was walking around the day after surgery. So that's the most important key. So. But at first when I saw the meniscus injury, I was like, "Oh shit, really?" It's like, what are the chances that, it would be like Duran last night, and then you had to deal with Landon Dickerson on that joint practice, and I said to myself, like, "Damn it, we're screwed. We're screwed." I said to myself, we're not gonna and then. It only took until maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday, getting that report from Adam Schefter, okay, just a minor meniscus. He'll be back in 4 weeks. He'll be back before the Super Bowl banner being raised against the Cowboys. So he'll be ready for week 1. But in my mind, I thought it was like something serious because when you say the words "he's on the card," you're thinking this isn't good.
Yeah.
You got the word, like you said, Joe. You got to hold your collective breath on it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I was really concerned about at first, but then I found out the news later that it was a little bit bittersweet for us. Just hopefully we don't have any more bad news coming into this game here today, because God forbid something else happens.
Yeah, and that's the thing is anytime, whether it's in baseball or football, anytime you have a player carted off, you're just like, oh dear God, how bad is this? And so that is always the kind of the concern. But there's been another concern in training camp and the open practices. I wanted to get your takeaway. It's been highly reported by Jeff McClain, by Elliot Shore Parks, by Dave Zangaro, that Jalen Hurts has not performed very well in training camp and the open practices. Now, I got to ask, because I'm not going to even give my opinion because you both know what my opinion is.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you guys is, Joe, how much do you read into this?
If I have to be honest with you, absolutely nothing. And the reason
Thank
is
you.
like, it's funny because I always listen to WIP and I've actually had to turn it off a few times because I don't know what more this kid has to do to get people to stop breaking his friggin' balls. I mean,
Right.
every single year they keep pushing the goalpost out. It's like, oh, can he win? Okay, well, he gets him to the Super Bowl in 2022, outperforms Mahomes, except for the one fumble, obviously, but he has a great game. Then last year, the passing game's not good enough, this, that. The two biggest games, he plays his ass off in the championship game and the Super Bowl, wins on the biggest stage, wins Super Bowl MVP. And then now, and instead of just being like, let's wait and see, I won't panic if he struggles in the regular season. He's fair game, but it's like the kid just was Super Bowl MVP,
Right.
and they're breaking the kid's balls over because he's not doing that great in practice. I mean, come on, man, you know what I mean?
Seriously.
Peyton Manning and the Colts. Every single year they won 12 or 13 games. They never won a preseason game. They lost like every preseason game every year. You think people in Indy gave a shit that they lost preseason games? No. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they just keep breaking the kids' balls, and I'm not concerned at all. If he struggles week 1 and week 2, okay, then I'll give it some. Then I'll be like, okay, hey, was he on the banquet tour? But
Right.
honestly, I'm not concerned at all.
So one of the things that I'm with you with having to turn off sports talk when it comes to this, but one of the things that I kind of wanted to put out there is, when people talk about quarterbacks and people talk about like how good or elite of a quarterback it is, you can mention names like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, and without question, if I said those three names, and I asked you guys, hey, do you guys consider them elite quarterbacks? The answer is unequivocally yes. They are elite quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Now, the question is why? Now, people are like, well, because they put up so much stats. Okay, and then are you able to tell me offhand how many passing yards Tom Brady had in his career? No. Okay, well, wait a minute. If it's about stats, if it's about personal stats, then shouldn't you be able to? Shouldn't we be able to rattle off how many career touchdowns Tom Brady had? Or career touchdowns Joe Montana had? Or career yards? How many career, game-winning drive touchdowns? If it's all about stats, individual stats, if we're going to go and say, okay, Joe Burrow is this because he throws 4,000 yards a year, and we'll remember Joe Burrow is because of his career stats. We'll remember Phillip Rivers for these career stats. We'll remember this guy for career stats. If you can't name and rattle off the career stats for those three quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Montana, who will probably be always identified as the elite of the elite in NFL history, then you are talking out your ass. What you would get from people when you bring up Tom Brady, Joe Montana, and Patrick Mahomes is how many Super Bowls they have won.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you hear, because winning the championship matters. It matters more than anything else. And everyone can have their own agenda and say, well, that's being, then I guess Dan Marino shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because he never won a Super Bowl. That's subjective. That's fine. But maybe in my opinion, how we judge quarterbacks nowadays, if the Hall of Fame ballots were given now, and with that criteria that we're basing things off with Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Montana, then yeah, Dan Marino gets left out of the Hall of Fame. Sorry, Dan. That just is the way it happens. Is that we do not just rattle off personal statistics. And the thing with Jalen Hurts is I don't care if he throws for 180 yards and wins the game. I don't care if he throws for 400 yards and wins the game. I don't care if he has 2 push touchdowns and wins the game. The whole point for every 32 odd teams in the National Football League is that they are here to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's what every player is out there to do, regardless of what their personal stats are. So for every pundit that wants to sit there and say, well, where would you put Jalen? Well, if we're evaluating him from last year, just last year alone, as a totality, not the regular season, not just the regular season, but totality, from start to finish, where would I rank Jalen Hurts for just last year alone? Number 1, because he won the Super Bowl. He outplayed the guy who most people would put as the number 1. He outclassed him. He outdid him in every way imaginable. And you know what? That just needs that's the pause. That's the end of the statement. That's the end of the argument. But people want to just keep driving on this narrative that, well, what did he do with the regular season? He won games.
Joe, your point is like so 100% on it's accurate about Jalen Hurts. It's what makes him great, because what you just said, he'll, there's other quarterbacks out there that maybe might be like, oh, I want to win the game, but I want to throw for 250 and a couple touchdowns. Jalen Hurts doesn't care about that shit. Jalen Hurts will say they have a pass play called and he has a chance to make a play. He'll audible to a run to Saquon, and Saquon will run 70 yards. And and like you said, Jalen will throw for like $125, $150, and get his balls broken all week because he didn't do enough. But guess what? The Philadelphia Eagles got the W.
And then here's the other thing about this is then when you make that argument with somebody about he just wins and all that, then they pivot the argument and say, well, look at the talent he's got around him. I'm like, wait. So Tom Brady didn't have talent around him?
Right.
Joe Montana didn't have talent around them.
Right.
Like these guys didn't have talent around them. Like Patrick Mahomes didn't have talent around. Like let's stop. Let's stop making an indictment on this guy because Howie Roseman does his job. Like that's the whole point. Howie Roseman did his job. Jalen has to do his job. They could have that great of a team and be the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm sorry, they can be. Because the Cincinnati Bengals have 2 of the premier receivers in the league. And yes, they have a good quarterback in Joe Burrow, but their defense is egregious. That's not on Joe Burrows, that's on the general manager. That's the difference. There, you cannot indict Jalen Hurts because Howie's good at his job. You can't indict a guy that is I guess I shouldn't hand the ball off to Saquon because, I don't want people to be misled that I need Saquon to win. No, Saquon is actually tearing the league up. Why wouldn't you use him?
Right.
It's like, hey, I'm going to get this scratcher and I know that I'm going to win $100, but I'm not going to get I'm not going to scratch off the scratcher. Even though I know I'm going to win $100, I'm not going to do it. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's so ridiculous. And I'm with everybody in that regard. The reports of what Jalen has done in this training camp and the open practice. Look, I just think he's working through some mechanics. Mm-hmm. And I think that's fine. You're allowed to make where you are allowed to make mistakes is in preseason and practice. And to quote Allen Iverson, we're talking about practice.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're not talking about the game. We're not talking about the game. We're talking about practice. Let's calm down. Let's pump the brakes.
I mean, seriously. I mean, the thing that drives me crazy about it, and you guys are perfectly well, you guys say it best more than anything. The way I look at Jalen Hurts, last year he won the Super Bowl, and that's still not enough for the sports media to give him accolades or praise. What is he more? What does he? How much more does he have to do to prove you guys wrong? I mean, he's won the Super Bowl. He's got a great running back. He's got wide receivers around him. Stalin University that has his back every which way too. What more do you want from the guy? I don't understand it, and I never will.
This guy has done something that only 3 other quarterbacks have done in the last quarter century.
Right.
Like, that's not enough. Okay. He won Super Bowl MVP. That's not enough.
That's not enough.
He won another Super Bowl for a city that we thought we were never going to see one after Nicky Six. That's not enough. He's coming back and he's talking to guys to still learn, like Michael Jordan, Tom Brady,
And Peyton Manning. Even like you brought up Peyton Manning.
Derek Jeter. Like, he's talking to these guys that have won multiple. This isn't a guy, as Joe said, and look, we'll find out. This is the next question. But whether he's taken the banquet tour of winning the Super Bowl, it doesn't appear to be that way. He seems to be like, look, I got to figure out how to re-gear up. I have to get my mind right, get my body right, because it's easy to be like, hey, I won the Super Bowl. I'm a Super Bowl MVP. I can sit on the top of the mountain and throw pebble rocks down at the bottom of the mountain. That's easy. But, like, to stay on the top of the mountain is difficult. And guys like Derek Jeter, guys like Michael Jordan, guys like Tom Brady, they did it for years. And Jalen going to them and saying, how? How did you do it for years? This is a kid that's still young. He wants to do. He got a championship younger than Michael Jordan did. Understand that. So, for all of what we talk about, all the criticism that we talk about with Jalen Hurts, this is a guy who's on a trajectory that's unknown in this city and really unprecedented in this city. And you know, I'm really going to just sit back and watch him prove people wrong. And when I start to see those people that are criticizing him the way that they are now, flip-flop, change those underwear, and they say, oh, he's the greatest quarterback in Philadelphia Eagles history. Wait. What made you change your opinion? Because you want another Super Bowl. I'm like, but wait a minute. This has always been the guy.
He's always been the guy.
He's always been the guy. But now you're jumping on the bandwagon because you're like, oh, now I believe. Well, you should have believed a long time before now.
Well, I'll say this too, Joe. He's not going on book tours. He's not going on late night TV shows. Nope. He's back in. I mean, that's the thing. We think about that 2018 Super Bowl team when Nick Foles, when he won that Super Bowl, and he was going on book tours. He was going on like TV shows and X, Y, and Z. Like Jalen Hurts, right after he won that Super Bowl, I can bet you that very next day he won that Super Bowl, he's going to be like, well, he was already in the boardroom, looking over tape.
Yep.
Yeah, the film room, looking over tape. Yeah, exactly.
2 days after the parade, he's in the film room looking at tape of the Super Bowl. I'm like, okay, dude.
Exactly.
You can go on vacation. You know, you can do like a week in Bermuda or something. Like, no one's going to
go on a honeymoon. He can go on his honeymoon.
Do your thing. But let's talk more about, why we have you, Joe. You brought it up about the slow start. You know, this season coming up, it's not an easy first couple weeks, and in the last year, the Eagles got off to a really slow start, and there's every reason to believe that they could get off to another slow start. Now, I feel like this city will hit the panic button really fast, and I don't think that they should. One of the things that I feel like this team is going to be good at is being resilient. You got the Cowboys, you got the Chiefs, you got the Rams. You got some really difficult opponents early
Yeah.
on. My question to you is, what are going to be the red flags to you? I mean, they're not going to go undefeated in the first 4 or 5 games, I don't think. So, to you, what are the things that you're going to be aware of and you're going to be like, okay, now I'm concerned?
You know, not that I want to lose at all, but I mean, I'll be okay as long as they get through the first 5 games, or 4 games, like 2-2. And then because in the modern day NFL right now, the first month is usually glorified preseason.
Yeah.
You just don't want to get yourself buried. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my concerns would be like, do we have enough pressure coming from the edges? You know what I mean? After losing Josh Sweat, is the DN position, getting enough pressure, and then the cornerback position, and then also, the second seat, nobody's really talking about the safety position, because that's a concern too. That you lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Is that being exposed? So they'll be my main concerns. Defensively is where I'm concerned. I think offensively they'll be okay. I think just the running game alone, and they'll be able to make enough plays to average at least 24 to 30 points a week. But defensively, are they going to be at that level they were at last year?
Yeah. And like, one of the things that, I have as one of my questions, especially going out of this preseason, is, you brought up, will they carry 6 receivers? I feel like there's a better chance, a better likelihood that they flip Jahad Dotson, for potentially a trade for potentially like a CP2 or a safety or an edge. They are going to, I think Howie is not done making deals right now. He's got 13 draft picks. He knows that he has some latitude. He's got some salary cap. He's got some latitude to kind of make some moves if need be. And I just think, and usually in the last couple of years, Howie has done that. He has made at least 1 or 2 moves prior to the season starting in order to shore up some weaknesses in this roster. He uses the preseason as kind of an evaluation tool of what he has and what he doesn't have in the toolkit. So I could see someone like a Darius Cooper and a Johnny Wilson making the team. I think Jahad Dotson could be, if he shows promise to some of these other teams, I think he could potentially be a trade piece for someone a position of need, whether it's corner or safety or edge. What do you think, Joe?
I'm with you. I don't know if necessarily Dotson, because he's looked really good, but you mentioned the 13 draft picks. Like, I think there's a really good scenario that you could see like a surprise cut. Like, not only does Adoree Jackson not win the job, but you could see him getting cut, and then Howie using a pick or two to go get a young ascending type corner, and then he has Ringo and the kid they just got from Oakland as behind him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see, because like you said, Howie does that just about every year. I mean, you look, the Super Bowl year in 2022, he goes get C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Last year he goes out and gets Dotson, like right around before the start of the season. So I could definitely see him doing that.
Yeah, I could see it too.
James, what do you think about the potential of like what Howie might do as far as like a trade prior to the season starting?
I mean, it's interesting because you think about the times when this is like something Howie Roseman does very well. I think the one thing that's going to be the big thing that the Eagles probably need is a cornerback, obviously, but I don't think Dotson will be a player that you can probably find as a trade piece. Maybe you'll find someone maybe like probably like Keely Ringo. Well, I wouldn't think Keely Ringo either. Maybe Adoree Jackson, like Sully brought up here. it's hard because it's like Dotson. I know Dotson's not a big time player, but I mean, obviously, you don't want to lose a player if you don't need to. So I think that'll be interesting to see, especially. But more than
Well,
anything, I mean, I'll be curious to know what they'll do. But yeah, I mean, it'll be something to keep a close eye on, especially.
Well, that's why I bring up Darius Cooper. I mean, I know it's only one game and everything like that, but you got 2 more games of preseason. If Darius Cooper, I think, shows as much or if not more in these next 2 preseason games than he did last game against the Bengals, I think Darius Cooper might win that third slot that slot receiver position. I honestly think he'll steal it, or he'll be too good to pass up.
Right.
And I think that'll leave Dotson, that'll leave Howie with, okay, well, what I do to Jahan Dotson.
Right.
And he is not re-signed. This is his contract year. So in some ways, you either get equity for him now, much like they got for like Kenny Pickett, where they picked him up and then they traded him and flipped him for either for in Kenny Pickett's perspective, it was for a pick. But for Jahan Dotson, it may be to get a player of need, and there are going to be teams that need receiver help, and Jahan Dotson, and Sully said he's doing well, so that only works beneficial to Howie Roseman in trying to sell him to other teams as far as a trade piece. Now, we all know once GMs see the 215 number show up on their cell phone, they tend not to answer the phone because they know they're about to get, taken.
Screwed.
And, yeah. And so,
these guys start grabbing their ankles. They're like, "Uh-oh."
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like, okay. And I think Howie's such a smooth talker that like it'll come off friendly, but then when the GM hangs up the phone, he's like, "What did I just do? What did I just do? I don't think I did something right here." And like that's where Howie like gives the little sneer and kind of opens up a beer and goes, "Have another one." And so it's going to be interesting to see where things go with this preseason moving forward. But we're gonna wrap the show up for right now. I want to remind everybody that we are scaling back Pattison Ave Sports Show from once a week to every other week. So we will not be on next week, but we'll be on 1 week prior to the kickoff. In the interim, I am potentially working on and organizing we had a Super Bowl Super Show. Say that 7 times fast. So we had a Super Bowl Super Show when the Eagles were in the Super Bowl. What I am trying to organize together for either our next show or the show after is a kickoff show, a kickoff spectacular. We're going to try and gather a couple guests and talk all things Philadelphia Eagles championship 2024, 2017, and maybe talk about what the potential is for road to repeats. But I want to tell everyone before we get out of here, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, follow the Hardcore Sports Network, Stream Punk Entertainment PA on YouTube. Please make sure to follow us on all social media platforms: Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and TikTok. Joe, is there any place where any projects and any episodes you got coming up in the pipeline anytime soon?
Yeah, you could catch me on Monday nights on Out of the Box Sports, 6 p.m. I do the Sully Squad. That's similar to what you guys do as far as like modern day Philadelphia sports / but we talk a lot of NFL too. So not just Philly sports, but we'll talk the whole league. But what I'm really excited about is I do something similar to what you guys do with the old school. So on Thursday, August 28th, I'm doing an old school show on Jeff Lurie, the Eagles, the Jeff Lurie era of the Eagles. And we're going to have two really, really awesome guests. We're going to have the godfather of football, Ray Dininger, is going to be on. And we're also going to have former Trenton Times reporter, former Trenton Times writer, and occasional WIP host Mark Eckel will be on too. So
Very cool.
Really pumped about that because the Lurie era. I mean, shoot, it's kind of funny because I do the old school, but it's kind of old school / present day. But I feel like the owner deserves. Everybody gives Howie credit and the players, and they deserve it. But the guy at the top deserves some credit too.
Absolutely,
for sure.
And like, a little bit before my time, a little bit, but like the Bremen era, like people always said that was like a dark time, and I get why. And we've seen other owners in other sports, Joshua Harris, that have really kind of shit the bed when it came down to how they run their organization. But Jeffrey Lurie has done an exceptional job at running this organization, creating a culture, creating a atmosphere which is welcoming not just to fans but players, coaches, and alumni alike. So I'm looking forward to that episode.
Yeah, thank you. I'm pumped to do it because and to your point, because I remember the Bremen era, and if Lurie owned the team back then, first off, they would have never lost Reggie White, Keith Jackson, Seth Joyner, Clyde Simmons. All those guys would have been lifelong Eagles, and I also contend that they probably would have found a way to win a Super Bowl or two back then.
Yeah, they probably would have kept Eric Allen too, probably at the same time too.
Yes. Shout out to Eric Allen for being in the Hall of Fame. Should have happened a long time ago, but glad it did.
Yeah, Seth Joyner has to be next, man. Seth has to be next.
Me and James filmed. It'll be released in a couple weeks. Me and James filmed an episode of Philly Fame Legends about Eric Allen.
Oh, nice.
And Brian Dawkins too.
Yes. It'll be stay tuned to the YouTube channel for Stream Punk Entertainment PA and Hardcore Sports Network. Hit that notification button. You'll get notified anytime a new episode drops from any of those networks, and it's always a good follow. But we're going to wrap it up for today. Kickoff is going to be at 1 o'clock, and then later on, you're going to have the Phillies. So for Joe Sullivan, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
For James Scorza, I am Joe Marks. We are the Pattison Ave Sports Show. We'll see you next time.
See you on the other side, boys.